12-1 for Ben Lau. Osborne 11-2. Yeah, Ben Lau having a great tournament. His last time on camera was his only loss. Losing in round 8, started off 7-0. And we will start here.
Looks like Osborne did win in the roll on Dredge. Both players starting off trading land drops. I assume that this Blackleaf Cliffs on Lau's side will be used to cycle some creatures. Get that graveyard going, stock up for a big living end.
And go back over to Trent. See if we can get something moving. And maybe a cathartic reunion. Absolutely.
Reunion discarding Prized Amalgam and Dackmore Salvage. So you have a weak Dredger here. I assume, yeah, it starts with Dredge 2 and the Dackmore Salvage for the first draw. Finds another Dackmore Salvage, I guess 2 more. And Faithless Looting and some other card that does not dredge, so a natural draw on the third one.
And a pass. So we're dredging the slow way, and Ben cycles Desert Ceradon. So of graveyard value here, we picked up, there's a Prized Amalgam and a Faithless Looting. Faithless Looting can, I guess, re-dump the Dackmore Salvages.
Right. And it is amusing until the Amalgam is returned by some other card. It's a card that comes back off the living end. So that's going to be something to watch in this matchup. It's still just a 3-3. You know, it doesn't size up well against Desert Ceradon, obviously. So maybe it's just entirely a non-factor.
Back to Trent we will go. We know there's 2 Dackmore Salvages in hand. Had to draw again for the turn. He's going to use Faithless Looting here. And that's just going to be a natural draw. No dredgers here, but maybe he can dump some dredgers into the yard.
He'll at least get to discard those Dackmore Salvages, right? Looks like Bloodghast being discarded.
And we see Insolent Neonate. Just want to acknowledge you guys there right now. We are aware currently of the camera issue going on in the round. We're going to fix that one as soon as possible, and we'll keep you guys informed on it. In the meantime, we're just going to call out the cards as well as we can and try to make it as clear as we can.
Neonate's going to pitch Stinkweed Imp. That's going to dredge right away, and Narcomoeba showing up to the party.
All right, so the dredge right away off Neonate. Yeah, Narcomoeba into play. That'll a delayed trigger with the Prized Amalgam.
Still not hitting too hard.
No, not yet. Dackmore Salvage brings back 2 Bloodghasts. And then it says passes the turn and wants to resolve that Amalgam trigger.
And we'll see just how much Lau can cycle here in the end step.
Sure. We have at least one, looks like 2 mana tapped. It's going to be Archfiend of Ifnir cycled. There is a Violent Outburst in Lau's hand.
Once he gets Archfiend of Ifnir on the battlefield, I don't really even think he needs to go much wider than that. That's just going to be able to make it really easy to remove all the blockers on Osborne's side. Come across just with that Archfiend and the Desert Ceradon. And looks like Lau's thinking about it. I believe third land lined up. We'll find out if he decides to go for the living end. If you expose Archfiend of Ifnir to Conflagrate and get it tagged, that can make the game awkward.
Sure.
So that's going to be one argument for waiting a little bit, spending more time cycling. You have to be mindful of your life total. If you take too much damage on the following turn, you find yourself in a situation where the Conflagrate just goes upstairs and you lose the game that way.
I'm going to go ahead and check out the graveyard here. Yeah, again, Archfiend of Ifnir, a relevant upgrade for the living end deck. I do like what you're saying where instead of just creating a huge living end, he can make a smaller one and then cycle cards this to continue sweeping the board.
Right.
And with Ceradon and Archfiend, that's already 11 power. He doesn't really need to have the full one. Like, he can do it over 2 turns. It's fine.
Right, yeah. With no disruption, it closes in 2 with the Archfiend of Ifnir doing a good job of paving the way, even if blockers do show up. And it looks like Lau has Violent Outburst, so we can make this decision on Osborne's turn as well.
Dredge 5, Stinkweed Imp for Trent. Narcomoeba is going to trigger. That'll come out of the graveyard. I don't believe we have a conflict rate yet in the graveyard, though.
And he hasn't been using Life from the Loam, so not too many cards available in hand anyway.
And here is Violent Outburst from Ben Lau. The instant with Cascade. Of course, is going to Cascade into Living End. It's the only card it can.
There was a amusing one flipped over there for Living End. Lau has 2 main deck copies of Fairy Macabre.
So it's just rude in this matchup.
Right.
Trent's going to check out the list. Nothing real spicy in Lau's list here. He's got 1 Kessig Wolf Run.
Ooh.
And 1 main deck Anger, which actually does matter from the Dredge player's side.
Yeah, Anchor of the Gods is not a bad one in this matchup.
Either way, Living End will swap the creatures that are in the battlefield and the graveyards. Which, to be fair, Trent does get, I believe, a couple Insolent Neonates.
Yep, some 1/1s with Menace.
And with Living End on the stack, Ben is going to cycle a Street Wraith. Blood Crypt in play for Trent means that Swamp Walk is live. He's also going to pitch Simian Spirit Guide to cycle a Desert Ceradon, and now his army's getting pretty formidable here.
Right, and if he still just maintains 1 more card to cycle on his turn, he'll be able to remove those instant Neonates, and then those Ceradons will connect for 6 damage each.
Yeah.
He'll have a lethal attack on the following turn if he can clean this all up.
Right now, just checking out. He wants to know which creatures Trent is about to get. And now Living End resolves. So on Ben's side, he's going to get 2 Desert Ceradons, a Archfiend of Ifnir, and a Street Wraith. And Trent, it looks like just a pair of Insolent Neonates.
Yeah, he's going to need more than that.
A little.
He has a Stinkweed Imp in his hand that he can cast, that he dredged, right?
Yeah, so post-combat, he's going to go for a Cathartic Reunion, discarding 2 Stinkweed Imps. He could get... something large could happen here.
Yeah, we've already been through combat on this turn. The dredge deck doesn't really do too much with haste as historical versions had, but he can find some Narcomoebas, but they just go the same way of the Neonates if Lau just discards a card.
Right, there's no Dread Return Flamekin Zealot kind of things that you might see in a Legacy build.
Right.
He'll dredge 5 off the first draw of that Cathartic Reunion. He'll dredge 5 again. And he's found a 3rd Stinkweed Imp. So a full 15 into the graveyard, and we'll survey what all he found.
And for Osborne, he just kind of has to play as if Lau doesn't have anything to go with the Archfiends and hope for the best.
Here's Dakmor Salvage. Trent has not played a land this turn, so that's going to work. Triggering 2 Bloodghasts. That should be fine.
Three, in fact.
We've got 3 Bloodghasts.
I think Lau was stopping him. I don't know if it had to do with a Fairy Macabre, but that wouldn't do anything, and that's just a card he can discard on his turn to clear this all anyway.
And 2 delayed triggers on these prized amalgams. All of this seems fine.
And this is feeling like my initial read of the matchup playing out. Lau should be able to just discard some card, whether it's Fairy Macabre, whether it's the Cycler, and just come across for lethal on this turn.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot both decks have kind of been given free reign to do their own thing, and when they do, it feels like Living End is just on the more powerful side of things.
Right.
On Ben's side, we untap. Beast Within, Shriekmaw, both in hand.
Yeah, those ones don't really do anything.
Osborne Catacombs.
That's another dud.
Yeah.
He's not in the worst shape, even if he just has to attack, but if he can discard anything, things are going great.
Yeah, if he can discard or cycle, I really like that. He's going to go ahead and discard the Fairy Macabre, and that does... Right, it's discard.
I would remember my Archfiend of Ifnir trigger, and then that should win the game. But yeah, it's cycle or discard.
All right. So he discards that -1/-1 counters for everything on Trent's side of the board.
I like the way that the template of the cards this way because it makes it easier for new players to understand and harder for experienced players to understand.
Yeah.
Because it says cycle or discard, and you're going to remember that it says the word cycle on it.
Narcomoeba trigger. Now, Ryan, the -1 hasn't resolved yet, though, so I don't think he wants these Narcomoebas back.
Yeah, but you can't just wait on the Neonate. It just dies.
Right, there's no good way to do this, is there? I mean, yeah, it's going to be in play, and then it's going to die. I guess it does trigger the prized amalgam, which is what we see here.
Yeah, so that can come back at the end step after he dies in combat this turn.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's great. And here is a swing. It's 12, 17. Let's make it a full 20.
Or you can make it 24.
Oh,
with
I
the
like
violent
this play.
Outburst. If you're not going to concede, I'm going to run up the score.
I like seeing violent outbursts used that way.
That's
where
we're going to get the concession.
Oh, you had the pump spell. Game 1 goes to Ben Lau. Just gives a thumbs up. Living End looking strong here. Likely, Ben Lau is already in a position to top 8 this tournament. With the win here, he will lock himself into doing no worse than the 2 seed.
And now we get to play the fun graveyard deck versus graveyard deck setup, where, as with most primarily graveyard decks, you see heavy graveyard hate in the sideboard for similar matchups.
I think all 8 of these ley lines are coming in.
Yeah, 4 Leyline of the Voids for both players.
Great.
And for Ben Lau, there is also a Fairy Macabre and another Anger of the Gods. That's mighty nice against Dredge.
All of them. Let's do it.
For Trent Osborne, there's a couple Thoughtseize. Those aren't the worst if you can get rid of the Cascade spells, though it's kind of dicey. I think we're mostly looking at the ley lines over there. You could go for your Nature's Claims. I think generally, if you're playing against a graveyard-centric deck, you are expecting Leyline of the Void.
Right.
So having an answer to it is totally reasonable.
That is something I like on Trent's side. He can blow up ley lines, whereas Ben Lau can't.
Ben Lau has Beast Withins.
He has Beast Withins, all right. Outside of blowing up ley lines, I don't really like Beast Withins in this matchup, so that's like... But I mean, right? Okay.
Sure.
VR can keep it in.
I mean, he's got a couple main deck Shriek Maws. We're going to cut those. I don't really like the 4 Fulminator Mage in the main deck here. I like that he's main decking 4 Fulminator Mage for the record.
Yeah.
That's gas. They don't really play against Dredge.
All right. Trent's side, we have cards like Lightning Axe. It can shoot down an Archfiend.
Yeah, when your opponent hard casts Desert Ceradon, you just get them. You don't have to discard a card. You just also pay 6 mana. That's called parity.
Yeah, they both are 5 and a red. That's why they trade with each other.
Right. That makes sense. They both also have a 1 mana mode. There's a lot going on here.
They're basically the same card.
Right.
Yeah, post board. So let's say there's uncontested ley lines both ways. Ben, who's ahead?
I think if I can cast 1 mana 1/1s and 3 mana 3/3s, as opposed to my opponent casting Crawworm, I think I'm doing it.
I think so, but if they're casting Archfiend Vifnir, I'm not sure. I think so.
If these Simians, if Ben's Simian Spirit Guides out Archfiend of Vifnir,
yeah,
that probably just colds Trent.
Right, it's like we're playing limited at that point, and Archfiend's real nice and limited.
That is a very powerful limited card.
Yeah.
Can't believe it wasn't a mythic rare.
Yeah, that I top-8'd some tournaments by opening that card and sealed. It was nice.
I believe you. Yeah, that one is back-breaking.
Yeah, so this, you mentioned with these post-sideboard games and they match up, it's going to be a little wild. Stinkweed Imp gets pretty good, too. You know, it always trades with the Desert Ceradon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do have to sweat Archfiend of Vifnir, because just one activation means your Imp doesn't have any power, which really diminishes the card's efficacy.
And we'll get ready for that in game number 2 here shortly. So if you want to learn more about the current modern metagame, we have a lot of writing going on that on Star City Games right now, and no better way to find out the most recent news by subscribing to the Star City Games newsletter. Coming out every week straight to your mailbox. This is free to sign up for. We'll give you highlights from the week's articles, highlights from the week's tournaments, upcoming dates and locations, and a lot more, including exclusive puzzles to the newsletter, and all of that is for free. Sign up starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Find your local invitational qualifiers, game nights, a lot of good stuff in there, and it's free. All right, let's play the Leyline game.
All right, 7 cards each. First, any pregame effects. The first thing.
This was a fast keep for Trent Osborne, which if there's no Leyline, I'll be pretty surprised. Benjamin Lau looks less excited.
That face, that was an exciting one.
Am I the kind of person that can keep this hand? Hey.
Oh,
two
three
ley
of
lines.
them. I think three.
I have a bingo square for this. Let's
right.
just chuck up another bingo real quick.
How many we got left?
Well, if we want to count not being able to cast Gideon as being locked out by Blood Moon, I only have 2 left. But
What about 3 pregame effects? Yeah.
I can just check that box 3 times.
Yeah, I don't have a 4 in a row yet, but
Someday.
at some point.
Tournament goes long enough.
Yeah.
And
I had 5 creatures attack at once. We almost had it that game.
And in these leyline games, we'll see exactly what Osborne has available in terms of castable Insolent Neonates, Narcomoebas, prized amalgams, and to get that beatdown plan going. With Benjamin Lau going down 2 cards because of these ley lines, there's a little bit of a bigger ask for him to play this kind of weird game of limited with his deck.
Yeah. Especially when his game plan revolves around making 5 drops.
Right. And I think that there's a good mix of lands in Lau's hand.
All right. Well, a lot of lands isn't a bad thing here, as he takes 1 off the Neonate.
You can start casting your Desert Ceradons.
As long as he doesn't get curved out, that Neonate into Bloodghast.
Yeah, we might see a 1, 2, 3 Neonate Bloodghast Amalgam.
Hate it when my opponent curves me out in limited, It's just, you die with your Bomb Rare in hand. It sucks.
Right. Neonate even has Menace, so you got to get 2 Ceradons online to block it. Here's an amusing one, though. Lau does have double ley line. When he gets to 3 mana, he can just beast within one of his ley lines.
Yeah, eat a creature in combat.
Yeah.
It was the Neonate into Bloodghast for Osborne.
Sometimes they just have it,
Here's the swing, bend down to 16. Can Trent cast if he... Golgari Thug. Okay, that's joining. I was going to ask if he could cast prize amalgams at all. He needs
Currently,
blue
he
mana.
has no blues. He has 4 Gemstone Mines in his deck.
All right, it's possible. 3rd land for Lau. We go back over to Trent. At that turn 3, making a 1/1. Now he's swinging for 4.
Leyline doesn't stop Lau from cascading into Living End and just wrathing.
Right, and that's, I think, what we're going to see. Here's Violent Outburst from Ben.
So that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and limited 3-mana Wrath's a really good card. I'd first pick that, especially at instant
speed. Yeah, this is fine.
Even if it doesn't have the advantage of making an army on my side, I'll still take it.
Right.
There's the Living End. Trent's going to look at what was cascaded through, but he will lose all the creatures.
Creatures with cycling and more cascade spells.
I guess what he could do is if he wants to filter through a card, he can sack that Neonate.
I like that reaction of the Kessig Wolf run.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's a card.
That's a nice one.
That card's good in limited.
Yeah. Put that in my deck.
Yeah.
That's a card that used to be treated up by a Primeval Titan quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, you get it with Inkmoth Nexus.
Yes.
That was nice. He has to discard that Narcomoeba. Bloom doesn't have the blue mana to cast it. And here's Faithless Looting from Trent. Going to have to find some more creatures.
And Faithless Looting, when you can't flash it back, when your cards are exiled, it's just very much strictly card disadvantage.
Well, he finds another Bloodghast. Go back over to Ben.
Well, this is an unfortunate thing. He has drawn at least one of his copies of Living End.
Yeah, there's 3 in the deck, so one's used. One's in his hand. It does have a suspend mode.
And here we go.
Is that what we're doing? We're suspending it? So, we'll get this one on screen. Yeah, I believe it's suspend 3 for 4 mana.
That sounds right.
So in 3 turns, we're going to... Wrath of God's happening in 3 turns.
That Bloodghast is on notice.
Yeah. All right. I like this from Ben. This is just going to slow down the game.
Yeah, you also disincentivize Osborne casting more creatures.
Right. So now he's trapped in he needs to cast more creatures, but he can't cast more creatures.
I'm pretty sure I spotted the 3rd Living End in Lau's hand as well.
Nice.
Now, he won't need them to actually win the game, which makes drawing a bunch of them kind of fine.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly means now when you draw Demonic Dread, it's a little bad.
Target creature can't block this turn.
Yeah. I've had limited decks that play those effects. I don't think this Jund Crawworm deck's one of them, though.
You know, when you cascade Demonic Dread into Jund Hackblade,
Yeah, that's a nice deck.
you're really doing it. Is that another Leyline for Lau? Complete the trifecta here.
I mean, you might as well cast it. It's
What
not
else?
doing anything else. He's got Demonic Dread, third Living End,
He can
third Leyline.
He can suspend Demonic Dread, or suspend Living End, or cast Leyline.
Ooh, with choices like these,
I
it's
mean,
hard to figure out the right play.
Given that he doesn't have another threat, and it takes so long to come off suspend, it seems reasonable to just suspend the other Living End, so Osborne has to wait another turn to cast any more threats.
I actually think what he wants to do is stagger them more than one turn apart. So if we're just trying to fog for maximum fog, I think I like waiting until this one's at 1 before suspending the next one to just like buy myself another turn.
Yeah, and I mean, if Osborne just casts some creature this turn, I guess you'll be able to catch it by suspending that.
You have to kind of predict, right? Like what turn am I going to need this Wrath of God?
Yeah, I just don't know if he's really ever going to need it if he's able to start casting some spells. Though that's not seeming to be happening anytime soon.
No, just saying go. I think he drew Fairy Macabre.
Yeah. No reason to cast that one.
No, we can choose between third Leyline, suspend the other Living End, passing the turn, and he chooses just to pass.
And no real pressure to do anything just yet. This Bloodghast connecting does put Lau at that life total where future Bloodghast will have haste.
Right.
Though that's not a huge concern. If Osborne makes enough land drops, he can get into the range of, I don't know, Conflagate for 3.
Oh, yeah, we can only hard cast it? Oh.
That card's a lot worse being cast
Red
from your
XX?
hand. Yep.
Okay.
They didn't just make strictly better Blaze.
Looks like we're going to see is that a Ghost Quarter from Trent?
I believe so.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have basics in the Living End deck? Yeah, we do. One of each. That takes care of the only green mana from Lau, but Lau does play a basic forest.
Yeah, that'll just be replaced straight away.
Yeah. Good for Trent to check on him for it. If he didn't play one.
Yeah.
Then you never know. Is there more? Let's see. There's only one Ghost Quarter in the Dredge deck, so he can't re-quarter the forest.
In this game, there will be no life for the Loaming on that.
No. 5-drop.
So is it a 5/4 flyer?
It is a Street Wraith.
I mean, that's a 5-turn clock.
Checks for swamps. Indeed. We're online. Not that Trent really can block it anyway, but... And now we're casting some prized amalgams. Trent found a gemstone mine. And here's an instant neonate.
Powerful stuff. This stuff is all... Well, the menace threat gets to punch through the Street Wraith.
And Ben's last Living End is already in his hand, so if he needs to sweep this, it's a ways off.
Right.
Is that Archfiend or Horror?
I believe it's Archfiend. It has a rare stamp.
Uh-oh.
Horror of the Broken Lands is not a rare card.
It's true. Horror of the Archfiend of Ifnir is. So Ben's going to hang back, and now Trent's in a bit of trouble.
Yes. I mean, just the 5/4 flyer alone, that while the Street Wraith holds back, that just closes, and then it's just going to destroy everything.
So they're playing limited. I mean, these air elementals are good in limited.
It's
It's better than air elementals, too.
Here's a funny one. I don't think that Lau can discard his Fairy Macabre because there's no creatures to target, or no cards to target in graveyards.
Okay.
I think you have to have targets to use that mode, so you can't activate Archfiend of Ifnir that way.
So what if instead Ben just hangs back and doesn't attack until he draws more random creatures?
Oh, it's up to 2 target. Okay, so you can just do it for 0. That's worth noting.
Okay, and that puts a -1 counter on all of Trent's creatures. Yeah, he'll swing for 5. Yeah, he has land, Living End, Demonic Dread, and he has a Fairy Macabre, which he could discard or cast. Both are reasonable plays.
Yeah. Kind of like hanging on to it in case some Narcomoebas show up. Yeah, he doesn't seem to have drawn any other cyclers at this point.
Well, remember, he has a Swamp Walker in play. So if he'd played it, he would be threatening lethal next turn.
Sure, yeah, that is true.
But this is a pretty safe line as well, and especially now that there's a haste Bloodghast from Trent's side, I think Ben's really going to be rewarded for how he played this Fairy Macabre.
Yeah. Discard this card, kill 2 of your creatures, block the third one.
Kill all your creatures?
Yeah.
Discard Fairy Macabre, no targets, -1 counters on everything. It is up to 2, so that is legal. Exile the Neonate. He'll sack it, discard Loam, draw a card. Bloodghast dies. Prized Amalgam gets a -1 counter. Block Prized Amalgam with Street Wraith. Or take 2. We'll see which one he does. Maybe he just took 2.
It doesn't make a huge difference.
Yeah, he just went to 7.
A Violent Outburst would be lethal.
Oh, he only has the Demonic Dread. We'll have to wait another turn.
Bummer.
Drew Seaman Spirit Guide, that trades with the Prized Amalgam.
True.
And I like, it's not lethal this turn, so Ben's going to make it over 2. Here's just Archfiend, sends Trent to 4.
No blocks, no attacks. Come on. That Street Wraith is it's not carrying its weight.
It's going to work out. Trent at 4, not able to stop many of these attackers.
You could currently Conflagrate for 1. That's one of the plays available. Looks like a Stinkweed Imp. So the Imp is available as a blocker, but the Demonic Dread will actually just make it so the Imp can't block, and then the Archfiend will come across for lethal.
Oh, also Drew Kessig Wolf Run.
Ooh.
That's very lethal.
It's just 2 things that make this lethal this turn.
Demonic Dread on the Stinkweed Imp. He says Cascade. Ben says, yeah, here's the third one's here. I'm not going to cascade into anything.
I'll show you my whole deck.
And Trent extends the hand. So Ben Lau finishes the match 2-0 at 13-1. He locks his spot in top 8. He'll enter top 8 with the 1 or 2 seed. At the top, as he was already tied